Well, hello and welcome to Momentous Live, episode 144. A little uncertain, apparently. I'm Tristan Jutra, maybe.
I'm Will Silver.
I'm Gray Williams, and I believe that makes it one gross of episodes.
144 is a gross?
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. Is that an imperial thing?
I believe it is an imperial thing, yes.
All right, go home, colonizer. Anyhow, so let's... hey, if you want to find out about us at this operation, you can visit us at www.momentous.tv, and you can have a little browse around there. Maybe click on the things and follow some things while you're here. Just saying. But what? We're getting a real-time update from Will in the chat here, but I'm not sure what it means.
Okay, there's just some old things at the top of my screen when I look at it, but that's okay. We can talk about it off camera.
Oh, I like to open the kimono a little.
All right. Hey now, keep it classy, New York.
So yes, Momentous.tv. We're waiting for people to join the stream anyway, on the various channels. So let's start with what is not actually follow-up. I mean, it kind of is in a sense, in that we had iOS 17 and macOS Sonoma and watchOS whatever and tvOS 17. All those things get released in the fall. But Gray brings to our attention that there's updates across the board, but iOS 17.3 adds a number of features that were previously scheduled, including a couple of quite important ones. So iPhone users, listen to Gray.
Yeah, so in 17.3, they've added one feature that I was really looking forward to as well, which is stolen device protection, which means that in addition to needing your passcode, which people can, get surreptitiously by either using the look over your shoulder or hit you with a wrench approach, they also need your biometrics. And in some cases, your biometrics and an hour delay. So that is, I've seen a lot of folks, if your device is unlocked and someone's got your passcode, they're draining your bank account. They are connecting to all sorts of services through your Apple ID, and it can be really quite detrimental. Apple's done a great job of using the Apple ID as a device lock. If you don't have that passcode, it renders the device, useful as spare parts in some cases. But even now with fingerprinting, that's not actually usable anymore. So security delay and stolen device protection, both really cool features to be added. The other thing that they've added as well is AirPlay in hotels, in select hotels. So instead of having to bring an Apple TV with you, yes, I've done it.
Me too.
Yep. So that you can actually AirPlay to different televisions in certain hotels. I couldn't actually see which ones they had listed, but I can almost guarantee will be the ones that I am not staying at.
Naturally.
They've added a new Unity wallpaper for Black History Month for this year. The Unity wallpapers and the Unity faces have been some of the best that I've seen the last couple of years. I actually got the chance to update my Apple Watch to OS 10 this week, along with 10.3, because I lost my watch for 2 months.
Really?
At the back of a drawer. Yep. The Find My device does absolutely nothing when your battery has run out. So it was literally sitting in the back corner of a drawer, and I sort of reached in and went, well, at least I haven't lost $1,000 Apple Watch. That's great. So I've completely missed on all my fitness goals for the last 2 months, but managed to get updated to this. Last kind of cool feature that I saw was collaborative playlists on Apple Music, which now means that I can completely separate myself from the Joe Rogan experience that is Spotify and go all in on Apple Music with collaborative playlists. So good stuff. Goodbye, Spotify. I canceled my subscription today.
All right. So the stolen device protection features, this was partly in a response to one of the loopholes that people discovered, whereby if they shoulder surfed you in a bar or something, or somehow social engineered a way into getting the passcode on your phone, that they could get in and change your Apple ID credentials without any further biometrics required, correct?
Yes.
So now they've added some additional obstacles there, plus the 1 hour delay, as you mentioned, which should slow down or potentially prevent people's entire identities from being hijacked, including, say, if your phone flies out of the open hole of a plane, and you, for some reason, you haven't set a password on or passcode on your phone.
Who would do that?
So if you have not yet updated your iOS device to iOS 17.3, now's the time. Okay, let's do a real-time confessional, guys. I'm going to tell you what OS my phone is on.
No.
And
no.
I'm on 16.7. So, because I like to stay, well, I think I'm going to finally upgrade. I usually wait until they do the new emoji pack, because by then they've worked out a lot of the kinks. My problem is a couple of my computers are like so far behind. Once the phones get too far ahead, then they don't necessarily play nice with the computers so much. I've noticed that AirDrop's getting a little hinky, and even some of the handoff features as well. So
FaceTime won't work. That's the big one that I found. If your phones and your computers are out of sync, that's happened with my parents because they seem to ignore the little red one that sits down there on their system preferences. FaceTime just won't work. And then it's like, hi guys, remember? Yeah, we're gonna do the general and the system update. Yeah. Okay, I'll wait. And there we go.
Will, what's your what OS is it your phone on?
17.2.1.
Pretty good. You're almost there. You're way ahead of me. How about you, Gray?
I'm across the board fully updated as of 5 minutes before the show.
That's very wise. Updating software right before mission critical operations. Kudos.
I think I had trouble with my camera.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
I know not to do this, and yet
it's
still I do it.
It's like the meme with the guy just trying to decide to press the two buttons, get camera working or potentially hose rest of computer operations. Sweat going beating down his brow.
I've not been known for my wisest decisions of the last few years, and here we go again.
All right.
Just when you think you're in control.
In other smartphone news, because of a lack of calendar awareness, I improperly teased this 2 weeks ago. There's something that we would be talking about last week, and then forgot to tease it last week that we'd be finally talking about this week. But Samsung has this habit of doing their Unpacked events on Wednesdays, the day after we do our live stream. So by the time we get to it 6 days later, it's like, So we're going to give it the appropriate amount of time coverage here in that. So yes, Samsung announced the Galaxy S24 line. So the S24, the S24 Plus, and the S24 Ultra. So we've got 6.2 and 6.8, 6.2, 6.7, and 6.8 inch screens. Lots of new AI features, larger battery capacities. One of the key things that they announced, following in Google's footsteps, 7 years of updates to the software. Again, Apple's been doing that for years and years and not really talking about it, just kind of doing it. Google made a big deal because Android phones were notoriously poorly supported in terms of OS updates over the years. You'd be lucky to get 3, maybe 4 years out of them. But now 7 years from Google on the Pixel phones, and now 7 years on Samsung Galaxy phones, which is great. But I think that's a testament to the fact that phones are kind of reached almost a bit of a performance plateau nowadays. So you can make those kind of promises and your phones are going to run reasonably well, even on newer OS. I mean, things generally slow down a bit because you're always designing for the newest hardware. But it's nice to see that people will get a little longer usable life out of your phones, although I'm not sure how many people are actually going to be hanging on to their phones for 7 years. That's kind of the edge case. That's the opposite edge case of people who update every single year. Those are pretty rare. I'm about every 4 years. What about you, Gray?
Well, so there's the TikTok rhythm, right? So you got the TikTok. I think you're on the TikTok Shamana. That's sort of like doo-wop sort of rhythm. I've got the 14 Pro. Before that, I had the 13 Pro. Before that, I had the 11 Pro.
So
before that, I had the 10. So I'm kind of on a. It's like a Time Lord heartbeat.
There you go.
I'm somewhere in there. It's on the 1s and the 3s maybe.
So you're doing every 2 years or so. Will, how about yourself? Approximately how long between your phone upgrades?
I think it's about 3 years.
Yeah. So right in between. Look at that. 2, 3, 4 left. I think the longest I ever got was 5, and that was really pushing it. Okay, so yeah, the lots of AI features too. Some from Google, some from Samsung. They're adding some of their own special AI sauce to it, as everyone is. Some of the translation features are pretty cool, like real time translation in text messages, or even you can even in calls and whatnot. It's getting wild, guys. Of course, a lot of the photo and video tools. If you can make virtually any video clip a slow-mo clip, even if you didn't record it at high frame rates. It'll do interpolation, kind of like we've seen on TVs for years and years, making things look terrible and soap opera-y. But now they're doing it for slow-mo effect, adding extra frames so you can slow things down without being all juddery. So that's kind of neat. Adding generative fill when you rotate images, or it's like we saw with the Google Pixel phones we talked about in the summertime. If you wanted to move an element on the image, have the background where it was get filled in properly, using the AI smarts. So a lot of the image and video manipulation stuff that people, I don't know how many people actually do that. I barely edit my photos, let alone videos anymore. I just too much. But I guess for people who are posting stuff on the regular. How about you, Will? Do you mess with your photos or videos much after taking them?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mess with them.
On the phone or on your computer?
A bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
I mess around sometimes with them on the phone. The other thing you got to remember is I post I post things on Instagram and things to promote music and things like that. So I'm often editing it or resizing it and stuff like that, cropping things out. My foot, when I'm taking a picture of a record on the ground, I just sort of cut out my foot, like, oh, I like that picture, but my foot's in there. And so yeah, I do that kind of stuff. I also sort of zoom in and do things in Instagram as well, but sometimes I just crop it. Sometimes I'll change the lighting and the contrast and things like that.
I would like to see you actually replace your foot with like that from a different species or something. That would be, maybe there's some generative fill there you could implement.
There you go.
How about you, Gray? Yeah, do you mess around with your photos and videos much? Like ones you just casually take for your own photo library or for posting?
Almost every single one. One of the things that I really have enjoyed has been the ability to like select subjects and extract them.
Yep.
Making stickers and that sort of thing. That's really cool. To Will's point, the ability to change shadows and highlights, I think, has really been a benefit over the last little while. These cameras do a great job of using computational photography, but sometimes it's just not quite the image that I see in my head. And suddenly, after a few taps and slides of the finger, that's what I wanted. So yeah, and I find editing on the phone easier and better than editing on my computer. It's just I've got muscle memory now of kind of what I want, and being able to copy edits and paste edits across like a series of photographs. Awesome.
All right, sticking with you, Gray, you discovered some news about OpenWrt, which is now 20 years old, and if I recall correctly, that's sort of an ecosystem that grew around a legendary Linksys router. Was that the WRT54 or something like that? Tell us what the news is in the OpenWrt world for those following along at home. Hi, Mom.
So some of the cool things that we're seeing here is that this software has been open for the last 20 years. It is a mature bit of home networking software, does a great job with things like backhaul. Looking at this now, they're looking to actually create an OpenWrt device. Now, they're not looking at producing or selling the boards. They're looking at Banana Pi to create a device, and with basically every device that's sold to create a donation to the Software Freedom Conservancy. So basically, this funds OpenWrt going forwards as a piece of software. Being able to have something that is open source, that is accessible by users, that has certain things like real-time clock with battery backup, what they refer to as almost unbrickable low-level firmware, and USB PD power. It's kind of standardizing where this piece would fit in with a lot of other more modern devices. I don't know about you guys, but I've actually gone through and sort of labeled all of my wall warts that don't seem to have devices, and then all of my devices that don't seem to have wall warts. So I'm actually like reuniting things So PD power is a really nice power delivery through USB-C is a really nice choice as well. So it's an interesting time to be in networking hardware because it seems like everyone is very focused on mesh networking. And the $600 to $1,000 setups, or if you're renting from someone like Shaw, that $10 a month for 3 pods, that gives you this mesh network setup, which I think it fits for some folks. This here is a device that they're looking at producing for under $100, and the schematics and the code will be publicly available. This is far more in line, I think, with the open software and open hardware initiatives that a lot of people support, myself included.
So you mentioned, just to decode a couple of terms for people, you mentioned wall warts. So basically those are, power adapters that, have the big chunk that you stick on the wall and or awkwardly in taking up 2 or 3 spots on your power bar. Can you explain what backhaul is for anyone who may have just done a little question mark with that one?
No.
All right.
It's going to take more time than we actually have here to discuss it. But basically, we're looking at how your router handles traffic on its end, getting different packets to different places inside your own network. So if you've got your Apple TV, you've got your computer, you've got your Apple Watch, you've got your Samsung Slide Mega fold-out tablet, and all of these things are accessing different services at once. Trying to figure out how to best provide quality of service to each of these devices is a function of backhaul. That is a really simplified approach, that's a simplified description, but it's, sorry, I wasn't really prepared.
No worries. I just if we're dropping tech jargon on people, I want to make sure that, because sometimes some feedback I get from a certain demographic in our audience, it's like, I don't understand half of the things you guys are talking about. So we aim to decode when we think to do so. Now,
hi, Tristan's dad. It's the guy with glasses talking.
Hey, glasses. So I get the whole thing for tinkerers and those who are interested in the open software, open device movement. But who would this be for otherwise? Because most people seem happy to just be using the routers that they get with from their ISP, be it their telco or their cable company. Anyone else you would recommend this sort of thing for? Or is this more for the hobbyists? And what sort of features would this enable that would appeal to anyone?
Well, so looking at the routers that are provided by your ISP, and I think we've actually seen a number of examples of this across Canada. ISPs have done things like blocking certain servers that you might want to access, blocking things at the domain name level. It's, honestly, who I'd recommend this for is just anyone who's looking at having their own access to their own internet, as opposed to relying on a device that's provided by their service provider, which should be everybody. I know for myself, I pay a little bit more to Shaw so that they don't get in my way, so that I can use my own third-party purchase solution. It's frustrating sometimes when I did not have that access turned on and realized that Shaw's domain name servers were not giving me access to things that I wanted. I don't think because of anything malicious, but because of just errors on their end. Since I've switched over to a pass-through on my own routers, I haven't seen that issue. So it's anytime that we have, especially here in Canada, where we have the provider of the service as well as the media creation combined into very few small entities, things like Shaw and Rogers together, Bell and TELUS, where they're providing both the service and the media. It can get very frustrating sometimes when you realize that you may not have unfettered access to the internet like you want. So sounds a little tinfoil hatty, but OpenWrt to me has always represented that sort of initial spirit of the internet, where we would essentially roll our own. And it's time to, I think, take a look at that again and step away from the service provider provided devices.
If they want to go real initial spirit of the internet, they should crank it down, knock it down to 300 baud, and then we're talking.
It's just slipping PPP scripts. Let's do this. TCP/IP. Rock on. Windsock. Woo!
In all seriousness, if you mentioned they're looking at a hardware device for this open source software that people have been flashing onto their old WRT54 routers from Linksys, which are one of the free routers you can do that to. If they're going to make their own hardware device, get teenage engineering to design the hardware side of things, and then they may fly off the shelves whether people need them or not.
I really want that teenage engineering light from IKEA. it does nothing else other than light up, but I really want it.
All right, moving over to a raft of Netflix news. There's a whole bunch of stuff that came out this week, so we're going to do a speed run through some of these stories and discuss a few of these before we move on to a bunch of. Do we segue into some gaming stuff? Again, we got to take advantage of the opportunities. Well, Tasia is not here. Our first Netflix story: Netflix is going to take away its cheapest ad-free plan. So we've seen Netflix tinkering with their plans over the years, as have all the streaming providers. Generally speaking, the prices have been going up, but until recently, there were 3 tiers of ad-free plans. There was a basic plan where you could get like one 480p stream, and then there was and that was like $11.99 a month in these are US prices, and then there was a sort of a one step up plan from that where you get 1080p and you get a couple of simultaneous streams, and then all the way up to $22.99 per month for the premium tier, which you got 4K streams and 5 simultaneous, blah blah blah. So we've always been on that 1080p 2 simultaneous streams. I was actually thinking of knocking down to a single the single stream, but 480p, I don't want potato vision. So now, but the other thing that they've done in the last couple of years is adding these ad supported tiers so they can get the prices down. But what they're finding is they make more money offering a cheaper service and piling ads in there. So it's one of these things: you either pay with your time or you pay with your money. And it's great in a sense that it opens up their service to people who maybe for whom that extra few dollars a month may be a difference maker, and then they just pay with a bit of their times. But as such, they're removing that bottom ad-free tier, the potato cam tier that I mentioned, with one simultaneous stream, and they're just adding ad supported tiers. So that's one little thing. Any comments before we move on to some of these other stories? I think we're largely in the please no ads. I mean, aside from Will and YouTube, but we're going to get them on board eventually, as discussed last week. So that's one development. Another development is Netflix has signed a deal with the WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment, to exclusively stream live weekly Raw. So Monday Night Raw. And now, several years ago, we actually interviewed some folks from Netflix when they were launching their own streaming service. But now, the tables have turned a little bit. They realize they can get better reach with teaming up with Netflix. Will, why don't you talk us through this a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. You said Netflix. I think you mean when WWE tried their own.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
It's all good. I just wanted to get that straight.
Thank you. Back off.
But yeah, this is actually a bit of a journey once you bring that up. So they had their standalone service, which was kind of like the Netflix of wrestling. Like
exactly.
it was their weekly Raw, which is their premium show. It's the sort of flagship weekly show, and that had been on NBC, and then they have SmackDown, which is like the Thursday night secondary show, and they have some other programming like recap shows and stuff that go on various things. Like I think Sportsnet carries the recap show and stuff like that, which is just the highlights of those 2 shows, the SmackDown on Thursday, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday, and Monday Night Raw, which is on Mondays. So their standalone service used to do their weekly shows, plus it used to do their pay-per-views. This deal is very interesting. So it is just for Raw. Outside, it's going to be other things outside of Canada, US, Latin America, or something like that.
Yep.
They went. So basically, they stopped doing their standalone service, WWE, and they went to the Peacock and
the NBC streaming service. Yeah.
The NBC streaming service. And, you can interpret that as you want. Maybe that the standalone service didn't work. It also had all their sort of old programming. So it had every wrestling show from ever on and lots of other wrestling shows that they had acquired. So you could watch all sort of obscure 80s wrestling if you wanted to at any time. That was sort of how it was like the Netflix of wrestling. I think the Peacock has scaled that back, but it still has like the pay-per-views and stuff like that. So this is just a whole nother deal and purely for Raw. It's very interesting because this is somewhat limited and it's kind of coming a little bit full circle. We'll see what happens in the long term, but it would be interesting if it all went to Netflix, given that they tried to do their own Netflix thing. And I think WWE offers a lot of programming. They have, lots and lots of shows that they've licensed, that they've either made themselves or acquired through other wrestling promotions. So, I mean, there's just a huge well of content there if anyone wants to mine it. There are people like friend of the show, Wes, who actually subscribed to that WWE streaming service. He had like a US account and like did all sorts of like sketchy things. I mean, legal things to get access to it, but he had to do various things to get access to it. I watched some wrestling with him on it a couple times. So this is kind of an interesting landmark for the WWE's kind of journey, and maybe also shows like consolidation. I mean, when they went to the Peacock, it was kind of consolidation, but this is it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this and how it works.
Well, it's a lot of money coming into WWE. It's $500 million a year, it sounds like. And then Netflix can opt out after 5 years of it if they don't see the lift or the retention of subscribers that they're hoping for. But otherwise, it sounds like it could be up to 10 years and $5 billion total. So that's no chump change. And it's interesting. It seems like a couple of years ago, some people were kind of gone off Netflix a little bit. They've been, after years of saying they would never get into reality TV, they started cranking out all sorts of reality-ish TV. The quality of a lot of their programming was not great. While at the same time, they were, they had been pursuing prestige TV and even more recently getting into prestige filmmaking as well. So they are pursuing multiple strategies at once. It seems they, despite competition from Apple TV Plus and Paramount Plus and Prime Video and Disney Plus and all the others, Netflix keeps growing their subscriber numbers. I believe last quarter they expected to increase by 8 or 9 million. They increased by 13 million subscribers. Now, forgive me, I'm not sure if that's a quarterly figure or a yearly figure, but the bottom line is things are growing at Netflix more than they or anyone else expected. So they are still the 800-pound gorilla in the streaming space, which
I find, just to interject, the movies are either outstanding Oscar type quality or absolute garbage, like just like really poorly produced. Like you're like, man, if you gave me that much money, like the three of us could make a movie.
Rebel Moon.
What did you say?
Rebel Moon.
Yeah, there's some things that are just like, and there was a couple of Ryan Reynolds movies that I watched that were just like, did they phone this in?
Hitman's Bodyguard and the Hitman's girlfriend, wife's bodyguard or something like that. Yeah. And I never watched Six Underground. The Adam Project was fine. We talked about all the Adam Sandler ones that they've been doing.
Did they do Ghosted as well? That's one that's nominated for like a ton of golden raspberries or whatever.
Razzies.
So
with all this in mind, there's an interesting article on The Verge, but is asking, is Netflix turning into cable TV? It's got Suits, it's got old movies, it's got WWE. What is it missing to be basically like the ultimate cable network? So, Gray, I ask you, what would it take for Netflix to add to their lineup for you to start considering letting go some of your other streaming services? Like, what is Netflix missing in your book?
Oh, I don't subscribe to Netflix anymore.
There you go. So, what would it take to get you back?
A couple of things. I would really like maybe $15 to stream 4K. That'd be nice.
Bring the prices down a little. Would you put up with some ads for that though?
No, absolutely not.
All right.
And that's things like I don't need Netflix right now. When I want to watch something on Netflix, I subscribe for a month and I watch the things that I want to watch and then I ditch them. And I'm actually I'm cycling through a ton of stuff. and just right now I've got Disney Plus, I've got Crave. Crave actually seems to be the one that's stickier for me because it's got way more content that I want to watch. Amazon right now has all of Doctor Who up to season 10 or 11, I think. So I've got Prime, so that one's sticking around.
That's how they get you.
Netflix has kind of ticked me off a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just it feels like they feel entitled to my dollars, and nothing here is looking at me going.
So to be fair, all the streaming services have been raising their prices. They each have their own kind of angle and unique selling proposition. Their Prime is it's hard to quit if you have, like being a Prime member for the shipping situation. Now, so back to my question though, so what would it take to get you to stick around? Like what's the kind of programming that's missing from Netflix that would make you stick around a bit more?
Honestly, like that's it. There's nothing missing from Netflix.
There's just nothing there. It's all missing.
Well, no, and that's it. Like they do great stuff. You know? And so like the League of Legends animation, Arcane. That was the type of programming that I like to see. Last Airbender. I will come back and I will check that out. But in the meantime, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. You mentioned Rebel Moon. There was something that was like, that may be kind of intriguing, but quite frankly, I'm not above like, hey, can I borrow your password for an evening? Because I'm going to watch this thing. Because I'm not going to catch you on the once. So Netflix, lose the hubris a little bit. The loss of the lower tier pricing, the move into becoming what my cable subscription used to be. I've never wanted that from you, right? You and I were friends from the time when I was ordering DVDs in the mail, and you broke up with me. I broke up with you.
So what are you going to do when Amazon starts adding advertisements to all their video offerings unless you pay an extra $2.99 US a month? Coming soon.
The thing is, right now I get Amazon for free because of Prime. Do I want to pay $36 a year for no ads? It depends. You know, that'll be one of those things where I'll turn it on and turn it off. If there's stuff on Amazon I'm watching, yeah, I'll turn it on. If there's stuff on Amazon I'm not watching, I'll turn it off. I have a little bit of maintenance in streaming services. The gotta have them all Pokemon approach here is kind of that's honestly with online subscription services. This seems to be the issue. You got to have Microsoft Office. You got to have Adobe Premiere, or the whole Adobe suite. You got to have everything. And suddenly we have been subscription to death.
Yep.
To this I say no. Yeah. To this I say I am done. To this I say I will cancel you. Services.
Yeah, it's like people were hoping for this amazing, glorious future where we would have this maybe consolidation or access to anything everywhere, anytime, legally. And, it's like, screw you, cable companies. And it's like, it's just a mess. For our non-Canadian viewers, Crave, by the way, is where we get our HBO content, among other things too. So just a little context for that. And I think Crave is a great value too for HBO series and all sorts of movie offerings as well. Will, you're still on the Netflix train, correct?
Yes, I believe so, but we've talked about canceling it. That's one of the conversations about getting YouTube and canceling Netflix.
But now WWE, maybe
it's going to get you to always stick something that pulls me back in for some reason.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
I did cancel Apple Plus.
Apple TV Plus, yeah.
But I also get the sports ball through my various sports ball season tickets. So that's the part that I wanted to keep. If there is something intriguing, I might go back. But again, this is the thing, like a lot of people, I know you got, or maybe Gray, you cut the cord, as they say, cut the cord, but cutting the cord didn't turn out to be, as you say, Tristan, the great glorious future. In fact, it just created more of a quagmire, and we're all kind of stuck in it to a certain extent. And so, I want to see consolidation of some of these things, but these people just seem to be like doubling down, Amazon and Apple and Peacock and all these things. It's just like, look, can we just have one or two or three services? I think I've pointed this out before. To watch Premier League soccer, I'm wearing my team's hat right now. If I want to properly watch it and watch my team in all the competitions, I need 3 streaming services. I need Fubo, I need DAZN, and I need Sportsnet World to watch FA Cup, which is one of the big cups, the League Cup, which is a secondary cup in England, to watch the regular English Premier League, and to watch Champions League. I need 3 separate services. It's ridiculous.
In some ways you think, like consolidation would be great for keep it simple, not having to do all the maintenance that Grave refers to there. I mean, it's what a nightmare having to turn stuff on and off on a regular basis, keep on top of all the billing and whatnot, and not to miss your deadlines and all that. But the thing is with consolidation, that usually, then you get sort of monopoly or duopoly or oligopoly powers, and then the prices start going up.
Could we just trim it down? Because we're at like 12. Could we trim it down to like 2 or like 3?
The thing is, even with so many competitors, the prices are still going up because they've realized the business model is broken. No one's making any money at this because they're spending so much money on content. That's why they're adding these ad tiers, because advertising has always generally been pretty lucrative. That's why we're going back in time now.
Isn't there a middle ground here though, where we're not spending billions of dollars on new content that doesn't make any money because it's kind of shit?
Yes, the middle ground is WWE for everyone.
Yeah.
I want
Jim Duggan.
Hell yeah. All right. Speaking of the prestige stuff, despite some of exactly. Christopher Nolan shout out. Despite the trash that Netflix does still crank out, they have been still producing Oscar-worthy or Oscar nomination-worthy material. And depending on how you calculate it, this year, Netflix has grabbed the most Oscar nominations for the Oscars coming up in March. Technically, Disney, if you count all the subsidiaries, they actually snagged more, but Disney proper snagged fewer. So like Disney, the entire Disneyverse, 20 nominations. Netflix is on its own, 18 nominations, which is pretty darn good for a streaming service. Now, if you're they, of course, on Netflix's blog, whose name I love, it has a list of their Oscar-nominated features, and then just come and watch them. Please keep subscribing and come and watch them. So you get the Bradley Cooper biopic about Leonard Bernstein called Maestro is on there. We've got, I don't know if it's pronounced Nyad or Nyad. Let's see, May, December, The After, American Symphony, El Conda, Nimona, Rustin, Society of the Snow, and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. I have to confess, I've heard about 3 of those. And so it's a good opportunity to go and check out if you are going to be in a Oscars betting pool. You could do a little bit of your research. But here's a streaming service. Remember, just a few years ago, it was a question mark whether streaming services were going to be allowed to have their movies included in there. But so what a lot of them are doing is putting them in the theaters for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. A lot of these are kind of indie-like in nature, and as such are being nominated for sort of secondary or tertiary categories, including live action short films and best original song and whatnot. But it's interesting to check out, especially, it's not, the Oscars aren't just about Barbenheimer, right? There's lots of other stuff going on. But if you're interested in checking out the Oscar nominated films before the ever exciting and never too long ceremonies, ritual happening in March, we'll include a link in the show notes to one of several blog posts you can see out there about where to watch the nominees for the various categories. And it's going to change. It's going to vary depending on what country you're in, of course. And as such, you may want to refer to a great website or app called Just Watch, where you can manually plug in whatever you're looking for, and it'll show you what services. Well, I'm getting some loop back on hearing my own voice.
Technical difficulties. Please talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, I'm going to mute someone until that gets... I think that was Gray, so I've muted you, Gray, in the meantime, until such point as you can unmute yourself. So yeah, justwatch.com is where you can look up TV series and movies, Oscar nominated or otherwise, and it'll tell you where you can stream them for free if you subscribe to the service, or buy or rent them. Great resource. And of course, they have an app as well. But we're not done with the Netflix news yet.
What? But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. this is a little follow-up. Netflix's new Avatar: The Last Airbender trailer has cute critters and dramatic battles. So I think we shared a bit on the teaser that came out, and we include this because both Will and Gray, but especially Will, are big fans of the original Avatar: The Last Airbender animated series. Not to be confused with the M. Night Shyamalan directed movie, which Will still has not seen, or, of course, the Avatar movies by James Cameron, totally different beasts altogether. So, Will, what have you seen in this trailer? Does it make, from what you've seen in this subsequent trailer, does it make you more or less excited for the upcoming Avatar: The Last Airbender series coming to us soon on Netflix?
I'm excited. Yeah, I mean, I think they had me at hello. They had me at Appa flying around. So Appa is the flying water buffalo. Yeah, I mean, what more can I say? It looks awesome, and I am very, very excited about this. It looks like it's being done the right way, and as you know, I think I first started, working with you when I was actively watching the original, and I was obsessed with it. I still think that original show is one of the best pieces of fiction that I've ever seen, read, consumed. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's hard to replace a classic, but another excuse to live in that world and experience those characters, I'll take it. And if they're treating it a little bit better and fleshing it out a little bit more than the M. Night Shyamalan movie, then I'm all there for it.
For those who have not really had any exposure to Avatar: The Last Airbender, can you sum up briefly what you think the greatest appeal is in the storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, I can only, of course, speak to the original series, but one of the brilliant things is it was kind of a North American anime. That was kind of one of the original hooks, and it basically said there's going to be 3 seasons. It said right away there's going to be 3 seasons, and we're going to see this person's journey from the beginning to the end. We know that this event is going to happen at the end. It's preordained. We know what's going to happen. It's a comet. It's going to come. You have to get ready. And the fate of the world is in your hands. And you have to spend 3 years to figure out how to stop it, the event from happening. So it's just, where you're going, and you're there. It's really about the journey. It's really about, look, if you went in episode 1 and go, who do you think's going to win? Do you think that the character that the show is named after is going to succeed? Yeah, he's probably going to succeed. But it's about the journey of getting there, and about meeting the characters and seeing their struggles, and and also the pressure of knowing that you're the quote unquote chosen one that has to save the world, and that you don't know what you're doing, but you got 3 years to get there. I found that very fascinating. I found that a very unique story. I found, a lot of times we don't give stories or pieces of fiction that kind of breathing room. We don't go, you get 3 seasons. Often what happens is like, you get a season, you better impress me. And then you get all the way to the end season and you're like, oh man, I blew all my ideas. I don't know what to do next season.
Lost.
News, you got renewed.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh no, what am I going to do for next season? It's like these guys had a 3-year plan and they did it. So it's I just found it very refreshing, and it was a good story and good characters. So
now, if people were not so deep into this sort of thing, and including the anime style of storytelling or what have you, would you recommend going back and watching the original series, or if they're just a casual viewer, just maybe starting with this live action series and then maybe going back to the original if it piqued their curiosity?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say, I know maybe some of my current company included, lots of people don't like animation or don't really love it. It is sort of a kid's show. It was Nickelodeon. It was broadcast on a kid's
Mhm.
Cartoon Network. The other thing is, I'm just going to say this. I'm not a huge anime fan.
Mhm.
There's like almost no anime that I like. So this
Mhm.
is like the only anime, and it's North American anime. So it's not at all that I'm an anime. Like One Piece, I know nothing about it. I watched 3 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and I was like, meh. So I mean, like,
Peace out.
yeah, peace out. I am not
Sayonara.
an anime fan.
Yeah.
I've seen Akira. I've seen some of the movies. I like.
Yeah.
Okay, Ghost in the Shell was okay.
Yeah.
I don't quite get what other people see in those movies, but that's okay. Different strokes for different folks. But I can tell you this rang true. I haven't seen the live action, but I'd say if you're someone who doesn't like animated series, maybe start with the live action, and if you're really into it, go back to the cartoon. I would also say that I don't know how long this show is going to take, but the anime show is 3 seasons. I don't know how many episodes per season, but it's a commitment. You're basically saying, I'm going to watch 3 seasons of a show. So you better, maybe try the live action when it comes out and see what you think. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Obviously I'm biased because I love the original anime cartoon show. But yeah, so you have to take good with the bad. These are kids' characters on a Nickelodeon show, so also keep that in mind if you're watching the cartoon show.
The interesting thing about anime, I heard it described recently, is it's not a genre. It's basically just a style, and then within anime, it has all sorts of different genres. So some people tend to just write it all off, maybe myself included. But even say looking at Miyazaki directed movies, there are all sorts of different types of stories in there. And just because one might not be a fan of some of the stories doesn't mean one might not enjoy some of the others as well. So it's strange. Like just as time has gone on for myself, I've just found myself watching less and less or fewer and fewer animated movies, TV shows, what have you. Partly as a filtering mechanism because there's just so much to watch. I think the only animated TV series I watch right now is Star Trek Lower Decks, quite honestly, and only because it's a Star Trek show. I mean, we've talked about it on the show before. I haven't watched Star Trek Prodigy, which Gray really loves, but just because it's intended for a bit of a younger audience, and I've got such a backlog of things to watch. So you just have to, I stopped watching Simpsons years ago, Family Guy years ago, South Park years ago, and I'm sure there's been lots of funny stuff. I remember, I watched American Dad for a couple of years, but we're talking like 10, 15 years ago for some of this stuff. And it's just like, something's got to give at some point, right? Especially when there are so many other fantastic series to watch. So yeah, it's tough. Like I think I might check out this version, the live action, and if it just like knocks my socks off, maybe go and check out the old stuff. But we still have to watch the movie.
Yeah, maybe you and I should hang out and watch it. I think I've said this story before. I own a copy of it. You gave me a copy of it. I am a huge fan, and I heard that from other fans that it was an absolute butchering of the story, and they didn't finish what they were going to do. M. Night Shyamalan had planned more movies, and it was just such a butchery. And I like M. Night Shyamalan, and I can't watch a bad version of this. Maybe you and I, you can encourage me. I will watch the.
We could start drinking, and maybe it'll make more sense.
Yeah,
or get high. I don't know.
I don't know.
But we have to decide. Well, because the new series on Netflix starts on February 22nd, do we want to watch the movie beforehand or afterwards?
Beforehand. I think we watch the garbage and then we cleanse it.
It'll make the series seem even better.
Yeah.
All right. So guess what, Will? But wait, there's more Netflix news. And I'm sorry, we had to say goodbye to Gray. He was having technical difficulties, as you heard with some of the feedback that we were getting. Apparently some USB issues on his MacBook Pro, it sounds like. So happy trails to Gray. We hope he gets his issues sorted out soon and hope to see him back next week. But in terms of other Netflix news, so a couple of years ago, I can't remember. Was it 2 years, 3 years ago? Was it was in the before times? Or was it in the height of the pandemic? Netflix started pushing into gaming. And I don't know about you, but I've never played a Netflix game. Oh, maybe, you could play within on the website and within maybe the Android app, and the iOS app you couldn't because the App Store rules or whatever. I can't remember exactly, but you could download some of the Netflix games separately on iOS. And I think I may have played the Stranger Things one for like 30 seconds. Again, just for time. I don't do a lot of gaming anymore. Getting old. But apparently, um, Grand Theft Auto, the mobile Grand Theft Auto trilogy, is Netflix's biggest gaming launch so far. It was mentioned in their earnings report. It didn't say how many people have downloaded it, but it is, quote, our most successful launch to date in terms of installs and engagement, with some consumers clearly signing up simply to play these games. That's the key language there. Everything that Netflix does is either to get people to sign up or to keep people signed up.
Mhm.
So, I mean, good for them from their gaming strategy. Again, I don't think of Netflix as a place to go to for gaming. All of these services, it's a zero-sum game, right? It's very hard. I mean, some people, I guess, game and watch TV or movies at the same time, but it's just, I remember Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, a co-founder, once said, our main competition is sleep. I mean, that's kind of a dark notion. Right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
maybe you should sleep less and watch more, or now play more. It's like, oh my goodness.
Well, Gray and I went
Vampires.
to, I mean, we can talk about this now because it's 10 years ago, but Gray and I at CES went to I guess, a one-on-one with Netflix and had a conversation about some of their new developments that they were coming out with. This was back in 2015 or something like that. And I mean,
When
all
we went for Momentous. We covered CES.
We went with Momentous, and all those things are launched. So I'm not, breaking NDAs or anything like that. And I won't say what they showed us, but anyways, one of the things they kind of said was, we need to stop the barrier that gets people out, whatever it is that gets people to stop watching. So this whole like going straight into the next thing or giving a preview or whatever it is, they just want you to not stop watching stuff. So yeah, that's kind of their strategy. Is they want you to keep engaged and keep going.
Exactly. That way, next thing you know, another billing deadline is passed and you've paid for another month. So you might as well stick around a little longer. Ah, boy, that's how they get us. Just you know what? Just take it right from our bank account. Not even our credit cards. Just take it all.
Take it from my employer.
All right. So we're moving on from Netflix news to a bit more gaming news. It's something we didn't get a chance to cover this in the last couple of weeks, but I just thought I'd mention it, Will, especially because it's relevant to your dear wife. A 13-year-old has become the first person ever to beat Tetris on the NES, the original Nintendo Entertainment System. A kid named Blue Scooty has become the first human to ever reach Tetris's kill screen. So over the last few years, we've seen new techniques be developed by people using the NES controllers and doing something called rolling, like using their fingers and their leg, and being able to flip things around. And it's superhuman. Watching how some of these folks roll, and tends to be youngsters, mostly young men. But this one kid took him about 38 minutes, and he just rocked NES on the Tetris right to the kill screen, and you can't go any further, basically. So, you're gonna get Naomi to start doing some practicing, so maybe she can match this kid's achievement.
She's practicing, but she's only practicing to beat you.
Well, she doesn't even need to practice. She beats me handily every time. Anyway,
she's quiet but deadly. That's exactly. Like people think that she doesn't. She don't play, man. She doesn't talk because she doesn't want to waste her breath. She just wants to beat you.
So if you want to, you can go online. We have a link in the show notes if you want to watch this kid's entire achievement, and it's wild. And obviously he was quite excited once he got to the end. In other gaming news, Will, why don't you tell us about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle? What is this about?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. there have been plenty of Indiana Jones games. I would say there hasn't been a really great AAA Indiana Jones game in, say, the last 20 years or so, and we haven't really seen one on the next gen console that has been, really well produced.
Wasn't there a like a Lego Indiana Jones or something?
So there is Lego Indiana Jones. I wouldn't
Okay.
necessarily say that's a AAA title. I enjoyed those games. There's a couple of them. My wife and I have played them. We like them very much. But I wouldn't say it's like this kind of like really, Lego games are like a genre of themselves, right?
Mhm.
So this is kind of very Indiana Jones. I also think this is a way that various titles can extend their lives, by doing video games or doing animated things where the fact that Harrison Ford's 70, or however old he is, Indiana Jones can be ageless in the video game. So it's
real-time fact check. Harrison Ford, 81 years old.
81 years old.
Okay. Can you believe it?
Holy moly. He's like my parents' age. I just doxed my parents. But anyway.
What's your mom's maiden name again?
Okay, yeah. Jasper. Anyways, so so I'm all there for it. And it also feels to me, as a gaming enthusiast, that other games stole Indiana Jones's thunder. So like Uncharted, like famously Lara Croft Tomb Raider, sort of stole some of this kind of idea about adventuring and treasure finding and that kind of thing. So I kind of like am very pleased that we're seeing a sort of a top tier Indiana Jones game, or what I hope is a top tier Indiana Jones game with puzzling, with adventuring, all this kind of stuff. It is an interesting decision to go first person. A lot of these adventuring type of games tend to be third person, where you actually see the character running around. First person is obviously you're through their eyes. So like here, where you're kind of being Indiana Jones. So I'm really excited. There was also supposed to be a AAA title. I think it was maybe a while ago, like in the 2000s, but it was canceled. And instead they kind of used the technology that they were working on for a Star Wars game. So we never got that AAA title. So I am excited about this game, and I think I sent you guys this trailer right away. I think it looks pretty good. So you never know. Everything's perfect in the trailer. Everyone's perfect on their resume. So we'll see. We'll see. But it seems encouraging, and there's a couple of oh damn moments like so like I always think of Fast and Furious, and like sorry, I'm digressing a little bit, but like Fast and Furious trailers always have to have an oh damn moment. And people may know this, I love good movies, but I also love Fast and Furious, and it's just a ride, right? Like you got
good movies and Fast and Furious.
And Fast and Furious. It's just enjoyable. It's just a ride. Like it's going on a theme park, right? I mean, spoiler alert, they went to friggin' space a couple movies ago. So in a car. So it's like, it's not a serious thing.
Who do they think they are? Tesla?
Exactly. So, but I have gotten to the point where I know I'm going to watch a Fast and Furious movie. So when Tristan and I and Gray and other people are watching movies together and we're in the theater watching the previews, I close my eyes. And every time I hear something to watch this, and then the crowd goes, oh my God. And it's just like, there's always that, oh my God moment in the trailer. It's like they're using a crane to swing an aircraft carrier into the ocean or something. I don't know. There's some ridiculous. Now they're going to use that. They're going to do that now that I brought that up. But yeah, there's always some oh damn moment, like they're jumping from one plane to another plane or something in a car. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple of those oh man moments in this trailer, and it's pretty cool.
So just a couple of little notes. Story-wise, it takes place in 1937. So this is before the Raiders of the Lost Ark movie. So the first Indiana Jones movie. And it seems like it's only going to be available on the Xbox platforms and
Yes.
Windows via Steam, but
Yes.
not PS5
Yeah.
or Nintendo Switch. So
Yeah, they're getting into a bit of
Bethesda.
the console wars again. Like, for
Mhm.
example, Starfield, represent. That's only on the Windows platform. So yeah, I mean, there is getting to be some first party games again. It feels like we had a long stretch where there weren't many. There was always still some, but there does seem to be a lot of drawing of lines. And I wonder if that has something to do with these, you know, Xbox Live sort of subscription services and PlayStation Network subscription services that we're seeing pop up. So
in other gaming news, there is a game that everyone's been talking about this week that is completely new to me, and I have no idea what it is. Will, can you tell us anything about Pal World?
I have only heard little bits. I don't know much about it other than it's like Pokemon Go, I think, but not Pokemon Go.
Yeah, well, Pokemon Go was the game, like the augmented reality real world game.
Yeah.
So apparently it says a Pokemon-like game which has sold over 5 million copies in 3 days as part of its early access launch. And if you watch the trailer, it seems perfectly innocent and sweet, and it almost looks like it's got a bit of Zelda vibes. I could see maybe some Animal Crossing type stuff in there, and then it gets kind of dark, and next thing you know, they're shooting each other with machine guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Like what is even happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, again, maybe we'll have to follow up on this. Maybe Gray knows a little bit more about it, but just
well,
you heard it here first, folks.
I have heard about it, but yeah, I thought it was some Pokemon Go clone, but I guess not. But
yeah, it's Xbox, Steam, whatnot. Yeah, but this is, and it's not like it feels like it's in the Pokemon universe, but I don't think it actually is, because it's not on Nintendo. Very wild stuff. I mean, that shows you just how disconnected I am from gaming nowadays. But I think we're ready for our momentous picks, Will. And I think we have a little bit of a gaming theme this week.
Yeah, we do. Lots of gaming. So I've been sitting on this a little while because there was other things that popped up, but we played Super Mario Wonder, my wife and I, and we really enjoyed it. It's a great game. It's really that fun hark back to 2D side scrollers, which you know, I'm all for Super Mario Odyssey and Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy, and I probably missed 6 or 7 in there. 3D.
Super Mario mattress shopping, Super Mario buffet.
Oh, Super
lunch.
Mario Sunshine, but that's the only one I didn't like of the 3D explorations.
Super Mario COVID edition. I mean, I'm
sure. So, but this one is really fun, and holy moly, get ready to take an acid trip. There are some scenes that you're like, what am I watching? Who came up with this? How did they even, like,
maybe acid was involved in the inspiration.
Yeah, why does this make any sense? And why did they have to do this? So some interesting power-ups, just a lot of fun. It's a great game. It's a game I think kids can play. It's a game that's fun for middle-aged adults like myself. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I can't recommend it enough. I think it's really just a great sort of nostalgia, but also does a lot of fresh things and has a lot of fresh takes. So,
and it definitely has that old school platformer vibe for some elements, and then kind of the isometric, top view as well. Like, what's that called? 3/4 view or whatever.
Yeah.
For some of the parts as well. So there's no first person components, is there? Okay.
No.
So no, not like indie. They got to do like Mario Doom. That's
that's actually one of my favorite things. Is the voice of Toad is so great. He's like, wow, wow,
wow.
Whippy!
Say goodbye to our eardrums.
Yeah. For those listening at home.
So my momentous pick this week is very simple and very basic, but it's also in the gaming theme. I thought I would choose that this week. Yeah, it's basically Not, it's basic. No, not 2D. 1D Pac-Man. It's Pac-Man, but in a single line. So you can control the entire game with just one button and just going back and forth. You don't even have to use arrow keys. Oops. So you can just you can use you do it on your mobile device and just hit the tap the screen if you want to change direction. That's all you do is change direction back and forth. There's a single ghost who is pursuing you, and he's faster than you. So if you can't make it to the power-up pill in time, then you're toast.
Can he
And
not flip around? He can't.
You can, yeah. You can go backwards or forwards.
No, but can the ghost?
I don't think. Oops, I'm so terrible at this. I think.
Well, you're also like running a show.
Yeah,
at the same
I don't.
time.
Yeah, the ghost can change directions.
No, but can he go through the Passover?
I'm not sure. I don't think. Oops. Anyhow, I've never done very well. I don't think I've even hit 100 points on this so far. But the high scores I've seen people post are over 1,000. So
wow,
I got to
so
stop.
You're not
this
hitting the kill screen anytime. It looks like.
Exactly. So Paku. We'll have that in the show notes if you want to really the most basic broken down elements of Pac-Man. You can control it with a single tap on your screen or a single button on your keyboard. It's a thing. It's the opposite end of the spectrum from Indiana Jones and the Circle of Time and the Super Mario
Great Circle, I think.
Great Circle, yes, and the Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Yeah,
I'm
Super
so old
Mario
school.
Brothers Acid Trip nostalgia, acid trip. There we go.
Speaking of nostalgia, you've got some level up beats for us, and you got a little bit of a nostalgic Game Boy-esque little handheld console device as your cover art this week. Well, tell us about these beats.
Yeah, well, the Level Up is my main series of loopers. I'm at 22 now. This is Level Up 22. Wow. And again, video game theme with the Level Up. So often the graphics have some sort of video game connection. This is sort of my general type of looper where I have a different BPMs and different genres or different sort of approaches or feels to things. So very dark and moody or light and bubbly. So I kind of go all over the place because this is to test your skills and to level up. So it's gives you different sort of takes on things. I really enjoyed this one. I love them all, but there's some beats on here I'm really proud of. So I hope you check it out on Tableist.net, either their web looper or their app that you can download from your favorite app store, and Table Beats. And they have an app, and I highly encourage you to download those apps and check out me, Molotov.
And you can enjoy such timeless classics as Silent but Violent, Stone Cold Killers, and Drunken Sumo. When are you going to do Silent but Deadly?
Silent but Violent is much more my style.
All right. So I have a momentous project this week as well. And that is, before we get to that, we'll get to our lovely and talented yet constantly recently absent co-host.
We miss you. Come back.
Well, it sounds like maybe February or March. Tasia Custodi. She has yet another video on YouTube, how to clear Google Drive storage fast. And there's some comments. It's always interesting to read the comments on her videos. People seem to really enjoy the practical tips she offers. I mean, largely in the Google universe of apps and services, but lots of good nuggets there. I hope she does one on Dropbox, because my Dropbox is getting kind of full.
Oh, mine
but
too.
This is for Google Drive users, how to clear out your Google Drive storage fast. And there's some tips there to save you time as you go through the hellish process.
Dropbox is the equivalent of my father-in-law's garage. Just full of junk.
And then lastly, speaking of Tasia, she and I have another episode of AI Named This Show, where we have a little bit more follow-up on CES, and we focus on the AI hardware announcements and then some non-CES AI hardware things as well. So that episode is called AI All the Things, where we talk about the R1, the Rabbit R1 AI device, and an AI dog sitter, and among other intriguing things. So you can check us out there at www.ainamed AI named this show.com. And you can learn about us here at the Momentous at www.momentous.tv. So please check us out and give a follow to us on our various social platforms. I say, well, we did it. Sorry, Gray. We had Gray for 2/3 of it. Better than nothing. And we hope to have him back next week and Tasia back within a few weeks. And any parting thoughts?
No, stay classy.
We hope your week is truly classy. Also
Momentous.
Momentous.